So I am going through my Saturn return as we speak, and I wanted to take the opportunity to explain what I'm going through and everything that it has been teaching me. And for everyone who might be going through their Saturn return, who will be going at some point, or maybe who already went through their first and they may be expecting the second one, and they want to know how to look it up in their charts, how exactly it will be affecting them. Or if you're just like going through your 30s, late 20s crisis and you're like, why the fuck is this happening to me? And you don't understand why. And if you want to find an astrological explanation for it, there is an astrological explanation for it, as there is with absolutely everything in your personality, your life, and everything. So, what is a Saturn return? Because usually what happens is that people, when they're like from like the age of 27 to 29, 30 more or less, they usually go through this crisis. And I think a lot of people just assume that this crisis comes because you're gonna go like or enter a new decade, a new era when you're 30, because it's like a new number, a new decade, whatever. But I don't think it has anything to do with that, or not just to do anything with that, but with your Saturn return. And if you check it up and you check where like it falls in your chart, like which house and which planet and the conjunctions that you might have with it, you can learn so much about yourself and kind of figure out if you're on the right path in life. So what happens is Saturn is the zaddy of the zodiac. So what happens is like Saturn is a planet that comes with like maturity. And what's the other thing called? I forgot, sorry, I have my notes here, so I'm just going to read it from there because discipline is the other thing. Basically maturity. So what happens is like astrologically, you're a child until the point that you reach your Saturn return, which happens more or less 29.5 years. And it's basically the moment where Saturn kind of like has done the whole like orbit around the sun and is on the same place that it was when you were born. So what it means is that your whole life up until this point is kind of like you being influenced by everything and everyone around you, like your parents, society, your school, college, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And the moment that your Saturn return comes, it's like, okay, you've learned all of this from like external influences, and now it's your time to kind of like go into who you actually are and take what you need from here and what you don't, and go to live the life that you actually want to dream. And I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people maybe live as like a specific life up until this point, and then after this they just start being a new person. They just change careers, they get divorced, they travel the world, they leave everything behind. People usually make really drastic changes at this point in their life. And you obviously have a few Saturn returns in your life because it happens every 29 years, so it means that you have one now, in my case now, you have another one at 56 to 60 more or less, and another one like 29 years later if you get to live long enough. So basically it's like, I'm gonna leave you a link below in the comments, not in the comments, in the description box, where I calculated my Saturn return, but you just need to put your birth information there and it will tell you when yours is exactly gonna be happening. And mine is happening less than a week from now. Today is the 2nd of February. My Saturn return is on the 8th, which means next week. And I've already obviously started. I mean, the thing is, you have a specific date where your Saturn return will be happening, but your Saturn return starts happening around the age of 27 until you're 30. It's just like there's a specific date where I feel like maybe I'm going to feel things more strongly, or maybe around this time I'm going to be going through bigger decisions. And the thing is, like, I had a situation yesterday that I'm going to be talking about that has to do with all of this, and that's why I thought it would be a good idea to like have a video, and also like for me to like look back onto this at some point and be like, oh, this is what I was going through at this time. That's cute, depending on like where I am in life in like 5, 10, 20, 50 years, I don't know. So basically, as I said before, your Saturn return goes in your chart through a specific house and a specific planet. In my case, my Saturn return goes through Aquarius in the 3rd house. If I remember correctly. If not, you can correct me in the comments because I am not a professional astrologer. I just read a lot about astrology and I really like it. Aquarius is a sign of the collective, of feeling that your life has a certain purpose to the planet, and that you want to be doing something that just benefits the whole world and not just yourself, and that you want to do something to change the world. That's something that I've always kind of like felt in my core. And it's also the reason why every time I've worked for a company that had certain ideals, and I was so excited to kind of like help them to change the world, even if it was like a little bit. And over time, I just realized that they were just like a capitalistic company and they just didn't really want to change the world. They just wanted to make money, and it was all a lie. I just always felt so discouraged, and I was always like, oh, this is like shitty, and I don't want to be working for people like this. This is one side. And then the other side is that in my case, it's happening in the third house, which is the house that's represented or ruled by Gemini, which is the planet or like the house of communication, local, community, whatnot. Which is basically what I was reading, because obviously, like, if you like find your Saturn return happening in Pisces or in Aries or in this house or whatever, you just Google afterwards, like, Saturn return in this house or Saturn return in this planet, and Google will tell you everything. I don't know what the best sources for this are. I've just checked a few different articles, and when I saw certain things that just repeated themselves, I just assumed that's the right thing. But if anyone has resources for this, just please leave them below, because I will check them out. So basically mine is in Gemini, which is basically planet of communication and teaching. And what it said to be like the Saturn return in Gemini was like that I would be adopting a more of like a teaching role. And if you bring that together with Aquarius at the end of the day, it's kind of like Aquarius is also a planet that rules technology, that rules innovation, that rules like breaking up with like old structures to kind of like build new ways of living, community, the best for everyone, kind of like helping the collective more than the individual. And Gemini is kind of like through communication, through teaching, through something like that. And the funny thing is that I started my first YouTube channel, my Spanish one, because I have a Spanish one. This one was started a bit after, when I was 27. The birth week, like 2 days before my 27th birthday, because it was something that I actually always wanted to do, to have like a YouTube channel and to talk about my things. And I didn't really know what the YouTube channel was going to be about when I started, but I just always had this urge inside of me since I was 15, but I was always like too scared to do it. And after that, when the whole like, what was it, like the 21st of December of 2020, I think it was, is when there was like this big Aquarius conjunction, well, or the age of Aquarius was starting. I don't remember what it was, but there was something happening that week. And for some reason, that's the week I started TikTok. I did not do it intentionally. It just like happened that week for some reason. And when I started looking back at it after, and telling a friend of mine who's an astrologer, she was like, dude, you started like literally at the best moment. And I remember my TikTok account also like grew like really fast. Like YouTube has been growing. Like my Spanish channel is like at 50,000 right now. And it's been growing for the past like 2 or 3 years, but TikTok just grew like crazy. And then it was like, well, maybe I just found my platform. And this was like, I've been trying to do Instagram for years, and it has been growing, but like at a different pace. I've tried YouTube and it has been growing, but like slowly. But TikTok was just like instant. It's like the platform got me, if that makes any sense. And since I started with that, I obviously knew that if I can choose what I want to be doing for the rest of my life, I just want to kind of like, I mean, expanding world's consciousness is not exactly the word for this, but I just want to bring more a positive view into the world. I just want to show people that things are possible that maybe they didn't think they were possible, because I've always been a big dreamer. I've always thought like, you can do anything if you set your mind to it, and you like, people need to be more positive and people need to like believe that things are possible. That's always been my mindset since I've been like a young child, and my parents have always been like, no, you have to be realistic. Friends around me, people in school, everyone's been like, no, you're just like trying to dream too big and that's not possible. But I've always been that friend that's like, no, it is possible and I will find a way to make this happen. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what, but I'm just gonna make things possible. And over the last few years, over like the moment like my whole like Saturn return thing started, I've kind of been proving to myself that things were possible, that I was actually like too scared to be in front of a camera before, and now it's like it's gotten better, and I actually like enjoy doing this, and I just don't feel awkward being in front of the camera, and I feel like it just feels second nature to me to be doing this and like talking to you guys or to whoever I'm talking to. And like my social medias have been growing, and like a lot of things have been happening. Aside from that, I've also like been building on the, let's say, the realistic side of like making money, because obviously I was unemployed, and was it? Yeah, 2020 was the same year, was also like I got unemployed by the company I was working for. And I decided back then that I was like, you know what, I'm never going to be working for anyone else, because I've been saying for years now that I did not want to be working for anyone, because I've always been the kind of, I'm an Aries as well, like sun in Aries, rising Scorpio, moon in Leo, if that helps anyone else for like to figure out a little bit of who I am. But I've always had a problem with authority, especially if authority was stupid and wasn't teaching me anything, because like I will allow a boss, like a leader, to lead me if they are like leading me in the right direction. But I've always felt like I was not built for the system that we have in the world right now. And I've been saying that since I was like 10 years old. Like, I don't want to have a boss. I don't ever want to. But my parents are very conservative, and they've always kind of like tried to push this idea on me of like, no, you need to kind of like, in Spanish, we have this saying that's kind of like go through the hoop, which is like if society says that there's this hoop, you need to jump through that. And afterwards, you can do whatever. Like, you need to eat crap and just like allow people to treat you like crap. And you need to go through that before you can do something that's worth your time. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I've always been very rebellious on that side, very much Aries in me. But yes, I said, so I got unemployed back then. And I decided that that was the last time I was working for anyone ever. And I started to do my own thing, and I started to freelance. And with freelancing came UGC. I was doing my YouTube thing, my TikTok thing, but I was getting no brand deals. When I haven't really gotten a brand deal since then, funnily enough, because like I have a big following, like I have 500,000 followers on TikTok, but brands just don't really feel like they want to work with me. But just because I talk about certain topics that I feel like are not what brands want to be talking about, I don't know. But the thing is that I started to kind of like get more into TikTok, realize that there were not a lot of companies that were doing TikTok in Spain. So I tried to start to like, consult companies and the whole like marketing strategy TikTok part. And that went really well. And I've been making a lot of money with that, but it's still not what I want to be doing. But it gave me money. So I was like, well, if this gives me enough money and like little hours that I need to be working so I can spend all my free time doing what I want to be doing, which is YouTube, social media in general. I want to produce my own album at some point. I want to be writing books. I want to launch my own specialty coffee, but that's maybe completely different. But it's at the end of the day, specialty coffee, in my opinion, is something that's like more sustainable and it's better for the planet and for your health anyway. So kind of ties with everything together, but that's just like a hobby of mine. But I want to be focusing on those things rather than helping big corporations have better marketing strategies on TikTok. That's something that I do just to make myself money, and I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, I've always enjoyed more like helping maybe small freelancers to like change their TikTok strategy to kind of like make more sales for themselves, because that is more sustainable. And I feel like I'm helping actual people and not like big companies to like make millions and just mistreat their workers, if that makes sense. Okay, so over time, after like helping a lot of different companies, I launched a TikTok course for companies, because I was like, well, I've been kind of like giving this, let's say, education to like different companies. Like I've educated is not the word, like I taught companies to like how to manage their TikTok so that they didn't need to hire me as their social media manager, because as I said, I didn't want to be working for anyone else, because I had a few experiences with that, like last year, as like I was working for companies as a freelancer, which for me was like a good medium, but companies still always assume that I was working for them and no one else, and then they would get mad if I wasn't available on a specific time when we agreed that I would not be available. But some companies, I feel like they don't understand that when you're a freelancer, that you have your own time, you have other clients, and you have your free things, you know. So at some point, I was teaching a lot of different people, and someone was like, why don't you just launch an online course? And I was like, that's actually great passive income. Like, why haven't I thought of this earlier? So I launched an online course. And after launching that, I launched it more for like freelancers, people like me who would be like how they could get started in like making money, managing TikTok accounts and things like that, because I know that a lot of people still want to work for companies, and I mean, it's completely valid. It's just me who doesn't want to do that. And after launching this course and having my first like 50 students, I was like, oh my God, this is actually going really well. Actually, I could be selling this course to companies, because companies probably can spend more money, and they can probably like up the prices and just have that covered with passive income, if that makes sense. So I can just really, really focus on what I want to be doing, which is helping the world. I know it sounds very idealistic, but that's just who I am. So I thought about that, and a week later, I get the call from this one guy who owns a marketing agency here in Barcelona. And he was like, Ada, I've been seeing like your TikTok course, and I really like the vibe that you have on TikTok and all of this, because you really connect with people. Because I've never run ads on TikTok, but I make organic videos that are about my course to really sell. I just sell organically, because I don't believe in ads. I've never believed in ads, and I think he probably saw that potential that I have. And he was like, well, from our marketing agency, we do like teach companies how to use TikTok, use Instagram, use social media in general to grow, blah, blah, blah. And the teachings is not the word, but I just can't think of the right word. But like the little like capsules that they offer to companies, they usually charge like 4,000, 5,000 euros for like a few sessions of like teaching them specifically for the company. Like if it's a university, if it's L'Oreal, if it's whatever. And he was interested in launching an online course for all these companies that they already have kind of like in their database, because they have like up on 10,000 companies in their database that potentially could buy like an online course about TikTok. And he was like, we would like to build this course with you so that we would be doing like 50-50 on the benefit side. And at the beginning, I was really honored, because this is the kind of thing that before, like maybe 5 years ago, I would have seen this and I would have been like, oh my God, I would love this. The fact that they appreciate me, my talent, the fact that they appreciate that I know so many things, and I don't know, they appreciate me. I feel validated like externally from them. Just made me really happy. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a great way to make money, blah, blah, blah. But then I met up with them yesterday at their office to like continue talking about like the logistics of everything. And they were already kind of like being like, okay, here you're going to have your company email. I can also like forward you like 2,000, like $2,000 at the beginning before we start like building the course, because I understand that we're going to be making money once it sells, but maybe you need some money like to begin with. That's completely no problem. They just made everything so easy for me, to the point where I was like, I left that meeting having doubts. I already had doubts before, being like, is this a good idea or isn't it? Because there's this part of me that just didn't feel it. But it was like, Ada, you're being stupid, because this is going to be like, you just have to invest a little bit of time, build an online course, and then the rest of it will take care of itself. But there was something in me for weeks that was already kind of like, there's like this 1% in me that's just not feeling it. And after I went to the meeting yesterday, I felt it even more, because they just gave me everything to just like have this abundant opportunity for me on a silver platter. And I was still doubting it. And I was like, if you're still doubting it when they made it so easy for you, literally have to do nothing. You just have to film a few videos and that's it. And you still don't want to do it. There's something there that means that you might not want to do it. And the fact that my Saturn Return is next week makes me also like very conscious of the decisions that I'm making right now. Not that you need to be like super aware, because anything that you like, if you made a wrong decision in your Saturn Return, I guess like you can always go back and redo it, or maybe it can happen later. But now that I know that my Saturn Return is next week, I feel like I can be aware of like the decisions I'm making right now, if that makes sense. So I also met up with a friend after that, and it's a friend who knows me really well, and she is also like spiritual and non-realistic as I am. And she was like, Ada, you don't want to do this? And I was like, no, I don't want to do it actually, because I know that I could be launching that exact same course by myself, even put higher prices without having to kind of like work for a company or work for anyone else, because I know that in this case I would be working with a company, not for a company. But it just felt like this very like kind of like going backwards, you know? And I know that sometimes you need to like take a step back to take 3 steps forward, but in that case I just felt like, no, I can do this exact thing by myself. And at the end of the day, what I've realized is that the thing that also made me kind of like figure this out is that when he was telling me about like the social media channel of the company that I would be kind of like doing videos for, he was like, yeah, because we're going to give you this social media and you would be the face of it, because you're going to be the face of this program. You can start thinking about ideas. And at that moment, when I'm like launching a new project or something, I'm an Aries. I get very excited and I get very intense and very obsessive over things. Probably my Scorpio rising doing a little bit there too. So in that moment, I was like, yeah, because I would be doing this video and this and this and this and this. And first thing is like, I saw his face and I saw how he was like, well, take it easy, blah, 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 who was like, he's not getting my enthusiasm. And that for me is like, we cannot work together if you don't get my enthusiasm. And this might sound like a stupid small thing, but to me, I've seen this in the past with other companies, and it's always been companies that just like didn't work out in the end. And second thing is that I knew that if I got myself into this project, I would give it my all, because that's what I do. If I start a project, I will give it my all. And this thing is not my project, it's halfway my project. And I know that I will be having to respond to someone else if there's a day where I just want to cancel everything, because I had a day last week, for example, where I was on my period and I had a few meetings and I just told all of them being like, hey, can we just reschedule to next week? Like clients that I had to do audits for, because I realized like I cannot set up audits when I'm on my period, because sometimes I just have a really bad day and I'd rather just wait until my energy is better. And the fact that I could do that was like, why would I be working with someone who's probably going to limit me in that way when I can be doing this myself, maybe make less money, but who cares? And the biggest thing when I was talking to my boyfriend about this afterwards, because he's always been like, Ada, sometimes you're really obsessed with money, and now you're at a point where you don't need to be obsessed because you're not in a bad place. Like, you're making your money through like your audits, your online courses, this and that, and everything's just gonna go okay. Like, you just don't have to worry about it that much. And something that I asked myself when I was talking to him was like, if I was making 10,000 a month, which is not like a crazy amount to make, like I could be making that if I wanted to, would I take on this opportunity? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. And you know how you're like, well, if I was making 10,000 a month, would I be writing a book? Yes, of course I would, because that's the dream of my life, to write a book, to launch my coffee brand, to launch whatever, or make TikTok videos. I would be doing all of those things even if I was making that amount of money, because that's something that I'm passionate about. So I was like, you don't want to be doing this. You're already making like a decent amount of money. So like, why are you even worried for like potentially making like a bit more for something that's like sacrificing yourself, especially in a moment in time where you're like, this is like your new life. You are meant to kind of like step into something new. And when you tie this with law of attraction, I feel like it's also like there's like a big part of this that I was thinking like, well, I don't want to say yes to this, but my parents are going to be like, you're wasting a good opportunity. You're not going into it, and you're not working with like a big company, because this company is actually like important in Spain. They're like one of the top 3 companies in marketing in Spain. But I was like, this would have kind of like this would have made me feel really validated like 10 years ago. But right now I'm just like, I just couldn't care less about this, which first thing shows the growth that I went through, because I would always chase after validation from companies and people when I was younger. And now I'm just like, I could not be bothered by this. I'd rather be doing my own thing, and I prioritize my time more than I prioritize money. And I feel like if you spend your time doing things that are meaningful, at the end of the day, you will be recompensated by the universe, whatever. Which also makes me think about the whole because I've experienced this a few times, which is like, you know, when you have friends in your life, for example, and you want to manifest new friends in the whole like law of attraction kind of part, it's like if you get rid of your old friends, or you set limits or boundaries with those friends, you create this space for the universe to send you new people. But if you just keep those people and you're trying to attract new ones, you cannot attract them, because you haven't created space for these new people to come in. And I feel like saying yes to this opportunity out of fear, because I would be doing it out of fear of like not having money or something, which is already like red flag. Never make decisions out of fear or desperation or anything like that, or greed. I feel like saying no to this is going to create a big ass space for like the actual opportunity or the actual whatever it is to come in, and for me to be doing whatever I want to be doing. And I know that I'm speaking from a very, very, very privileged position, because I know that a lot of people, because I talked about something similar, not exactly this, but something similar to this, because I still haven't said no to them, but I have an English channel, which no one, like this channel, no one knows it, so they're not going to find this out, and I'm probably going to tell them on Monday. But it's just because like yesterday I was already so excited, and I just feel like it maybe is really weird that I just emailed them a day after being like, hey, by the way, I just thought about it. So like, nah, I'm not working with you. So I'm just going to wait until Monday to tell them. But I have this feeling that a lot of people would probably be like, oh my God, I would kill to be in your shoes. I would kill to get an opportunity like this. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can go after this. And if you're Spanish and you want something like this, like I can give you the contact of this guy, and I will happily pass this opportunity on to whoever wants it. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's also been moments where I've seen like bigger people kind of like pass on opportunities. I was like, oh my God, I would kill for this. But I could see why this person was saying no to that. And in my case, like, I just want to acknowledge that. I know that I'm privileged. I know that privileged, and also like I built this for myself, like from years and years and years too. Being on social media, talking about marketing, talking about certain things. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to do the same thing myself, because I already have this online course, and I'm just going to expand it to make something not similar, because I don't want to go about the route that they want to be going, but I'm just going to do it the way that I want to do it. And I'm just going to believe in myself, because I feel like whenever I've taken the leap of faith of believing in myself, everything just worked out. And also, like, if you're someone who's like maybe just getting started into this, or you've been in the whole like spirituality, law of attraction world like recently, I know it's maybe because I've seen people, like I used to see people talk about leaps of faith and all of this and think like, oh my God, how can this person just like jump blindly over this? I've been learning about this for 10 years, and 5 years ago I would not be doing these things sometimes because I was just really afraid, because I didn't see enough proof from the universe to kind of like do these things. Now I'm just like in a really like good position, privileged position, where I know that I can do this. Like I have savings. I know that I'm already making my own money. I'm making like the minimum that I need to just keep on surviving. And if I have the minimum to just do my own thing, I'm fine. Like if I was, and even if I was like probably making zero money right now, I'd probably find another way, because, or maybe I would accept it. I honestly don't know. I just know that right now I am in the best position possible to be like, hey, you already built everything for yourself. Like this is just maybe like a little last test from the universe to try to tempt me into going into something that I actually don't really want to be doing, because this is maybe just like my perspective on this, but I feel like sometimes the universe tests you to see like if you're gonna be saying yes to that thing, to kind of like take away the bigger things that are waiting for you after that. But I know that the moment I say no to this, things are already working out greatly, but I feel like things are gonna be working out even greater after that. I don't know how to explain it, but I just have this really strong belief right now that everything's just gonna be really fine. And in my case, like I've spent the last 2 years, like planting a lot of seeds, and everything is just kind of like growing right now. Like it's taking a long time to grow, but now it's come to the point where it's actually like growing, and I'm actually starting to see the results of like the hard work that I put in for the last 2 years. And I know that I'm rambling a lot in this video, but I just wanted to kind of like share this for anyone who might be going through something, which is not to say to like just quit everything in your life and just like start something new, but maybe to take the time, like if you calculate your return, look into the placements that it is in and try to make sense of like what it is that your Saturn return is trying to tell you, you know, because especially when I see that my Saturn return is in a place of Aquarius, of like trying to do better for the world, and Gemini, which is communicate, teach, and whatever, which is kind of like what I'm doing with my social media. I feel like to me that's like confirmation that I'm going on the right direction, but not teach for this man who wants to only make money, but I'm going to be teaching for myself the way that I want to be teaching, and you know, if that makes sense. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If anyone's going through the Saturn return, I would love to like hear your experiences in the comments, or I don't know, any other resource or whatever in that sense. And I'll see you guys next video.